The first question that I think that as an FP&A person, I always like to ask a new team that I join is why is it important for companies to budget? And the best answer to the question that I've heard came from a CEO that I worked at. It was my last payroll job. He was the CEO of VersaCold, and he had hired me to build an FP&A team because he wanted to and was tasked with enacting a massive business transformation and turnaround of the company. They had a finance team that had some good accountants and some bright people, but no dedicated FP&A folks, and that was a mission critical element for him to help drive the organizational change. Um, so his perspective, which is also my perspective, is you don't do budgets for the board, you don't do budgets for investors, you don't do budgets for um, anyone other than like management teams. You do budgets for the operators and the employees, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are tasked with turning the strategic vision into reality, and they're the only ones who could do that. So the most value of a budget and a budget process is reaped by the people who are operating the company. Um, so certainly you could use all the outputs, and obviously we all do use all the outputs for all these other stakeholders, including um, a whole list of other stakeholders. But really, the main value is, in my opinion, for the operators and the business. I'm going to take a quick trip into the world of Netflix, and many of you might be familiar. There's a show out there called "Don't Die: The Man Who Wants to Live Forever." And that show chronicles the life of Brian Johnson, who is a tech millionaire or billionaire. I don't know which, but he did very well. And his latest obsession is he's on an extreme quest to slow the aging process and increase what he calls his health span. Not only his lifespan, but his health span. And he is obsessive. He's on a data driven daily regimen that governs literally every aspect of his life. He's on 90 plus supplements and monitors those supplements and the reactions and keeps on tweaking them as he goes along. Vegan meals that he weighs to the gram. He has the same exercise routine that he goes through, I think, on a weekly basis. He does red light therapy, and then most notoriously, he does plasma transfusions between him and his younger son, and I think his dad. They all change their plasma to get younger plasma inside their bodies. So I don't necessarily suggest any of this for our normal lives, but why this is so fascinating to me is because I think there's a really good analogy. It's like the human body. Businesses are complex systems, and they rely on inputs, and there's a whole host of complex reactions, sometimes unintended consequences that people need to monitor. And then there's an output, and that output also becomes an input and changes the system. So it's sort of like the human body, an organization that is contained but reacts to its external stimulus and the various systems that interact within your body. Um, at the end of the day, the human body does age, and age is results in a loss of function. And unless nourished, the body's going to start to deteriorate over time at a more rapid pace. So the body has natural things inside its system that helps it respond and repair and strengthen. And FP&A can be, for a company, like those things. It could help companies respond to certain things. It could help companies repair, and it could help companies strengthen through thoughtful design of processes, through measurement, and through reinforcing culture messages that really are the glue that holds the teams together. So the commonality is really, measure, embed, and experiment here, and that's something that I see the FP&A role as being central to the FP&A role. Okay, so this is sort of what I just said. I got a little bit ahead of myself. So where Brian Johnson talks about the human health span, really what FP&A and we all are concerned about is the corporate competitive span. How long can a corporation stay at peak performance and outperform the competition? Okay, so FP&A performs the following key roles. So it monitors the company's nourishment. It could identify the symptoms of illness and dysfunction. And like the red blood cells and human immune system, it could attack the root causes, but attack obviously in a productive way. Lead proactive and thoughtful experiments to see the impact of certain things on the company and value levers that we could all pull. Could do that in real life. You could also do that through scenario analysis and model things in simulation. And it helps employees learn how to monitor organizational health. Okay, so FP&A really helps deepen the understanding that the team, and when I say the team, it's not just the finance team, the business team has about the company. Okay, so here, why is it important for companies to budget? So we sort of touched on my philosophy and that it's really for the operators, but can be used for a whole bunch of stakeholders. So the first thing that come out of the budget process are it's a way to communicate targets to stakeholders, and the stakeholders could be within the company, they could be without the company, it could be the banks, it could be investors, employees, the business ecosystem. You want to potentially share parts of your budget, like suppliers or customers, landlords, unions. Obviously, you want to be very careful with some of those, but certainly you want to communicate some of what comes out of your budget process so that you all stay aligned. Regulators, insurers, whole host of people that could benefit from a good thought through budget process at some of the outputs. The other one is resource allocation. So that's, how does the company allocate its resources to accomplish the mission that you've set out for the year? And that could be headcount, capital expenditures, and project staffing. And there you want to be really careful with how you define the project portfolio that you want to do in the year so that it doesn't exceed the company's ability to execute. You don't have to de-scope things or be late on projects. So the budget process can help surface some of those issues, ring fence some assets, and really set a good expectation for the performance and how you're going to measure performance throughout the year, which is the next point. So the stuff that is in your strategy should really inform your budget. And then as you go throughout the year, you should be tracking your performance against the most important metrics, certainly at the top of the house, and then in each of the functions and business units. You're all familiar with the scorecards and performance management metrics that lots of companies use. The best ones really tie all these things together. And surfaced departmental priorities and interdependencies. So this is really, the budget is probably the best allocation and alignment tool that a company has. It's one of the few processes that touch all parts of the organization, and people are talking about their operating plan. What are they going to do for the year? And if people are doing that in silos, then you could encounter major problems as you try to execute things. You could find out that, out of your project portfolio, you've over allocated the number of projects to certain people, so therefore they can't do that, and you have to either bring in more resources, which increases costs, or you have to start to descope or delay some projects. So the more that you could get alignment between the functions and business units as you execute the plan throughout the year, or set the plan at the beginning of the year and execute the plan throughout the year, then the better off you're going to be. And then scenario planning and understanding how to flex plans, that's sort of an important part of what you get out of a budget. So you could understand what some of the value levers are, how some of the inputs could potentially change the expected results, because we all know that you set a budget for the year, but then by the time the ink is dry, the environment's already changed, and it will continue to change. So much easier to pivot and, as an organization, change your plans or tweak your plans when you're already coming from an aligned space. Okay, so the overriding theme is that budgets are tools to build alignment.